everyone, and welcome to Publitio tutorial about media file structure. Now I wanna point out some things. So Publitio is providing you a new layer of the cloud storage. Now the difference between Publitio and, for example, Amazon or Azure cloud storage is that you don't need to manage any infrastructure. So Publitio is doing everything for you. So if you have been using, for example, Amazon S3, you would upload all your content to the bucket, and you have access to those files through the links that you have to generate to the database, etc. Now, what Publitio does is effectively mimicking all of that. So we have our own cloud infrastructure, and all your files are stored in a folder of your account, and that content is being displayed inside of media files. And what we have done is we have basically given you easy way to see the storage and the files that you have. Now, very important thing is to know that you have option to create new folders, and you can upload directly the files in here. So for creation of the new folder, you can click new folder and call it my folder 4, and the folder will be created. Now one thing to note is if I try to create again my folder 4, I won't be able to do it. It will say that my folder 4, the path is already taken. Now one thing to note, the name of this folder is global, so goes with the name of the files. You can imagine that everybody is competing for this original name. So if there is a file with the name grains, file/grains.jpg, nobody can take it. So the best practice is for you to create a new folder with the name of your website or the project that you're using, and make sure that all links are unique, and the folder structure that you're going to use for your content will not be affected by anyone else. So I can upload the new file called grain.jpg into this folder, but I can't upload the grains inside of the previous folder. It will say that file already exists. So now you see the folder structure is my folder 4 / grains.jpg, and this is the grains.jpg. If I try to upload the same file again, there should be an error popping up, or the file will be uploaded by the different ID, or we are going to rename it. But let's see what happens. Yeah, the file was renamed. So just to be clear, you can't have the same name for the file. The navigating to the structure, you can click my library back, and you go back to the media file structure. Now you have already seen that you have option to upload the files. You can select multiple files or just one. After the files have been selected, you have few options to do. Now let's get into this through the explanation. So Publitio acts as cloud storage. So effectively you are the one who is deciding what's going to happen with your files, and you are the one that is telling the system what to do with them. So if you decide to put your file into the private version, so it's not public, you are the one responsible for making calls to the API and generating token access to that file. The WordPress plugin is doing that automatically, and you have to use SDKs inside of your program or the app, whatever you're building. You will have to make calls through the SDK in order for these files to be accessible. So it's up to you to decide how you want to build your structure, but we would advise to use the public, because it's easier for you to do all the linking and everything. And there is an option to secure all that content inside of the settings with the domain lock, but I'll explain that in a specific video about domain locking. The allow URL based transformation is one of the most important things, because we have been having many support questions with issues, people not being able to play their files, they don't see the preview, they don't see versions being created. So effectively, if you tell us do not allow URL-based transformations, you're telling us don't touch my file. And Publitio system will not touch it, it won't do anything to it, it won't generate it, it won't generate a thumbnail on it, it won't generate additional versions with different qualities, and you won't be able to use URL-based transformations. So if you plan to do any kind of changes on that file, either to generate thumbnails or whatever, you have to keep this on. Allow download via special URLs. This command is connected to the API, which basically returns inside of the API call if you list all the files true or false to allow generation of download URLs. This can be interesting for website, for example, if you build a clone of Unsplash, which has an option to download, you can allow download of the specific files. There is an option to create a watermark. If I select my watermark right now, all the uploaded files at this moment are going to be tagged and watermarked by this watermark, but that's something that I don't want to do, so I'm not going to select it. And if you need, you can add more files immediately to the upload process. So as you can see, the files have been uploaded and the random ID has been applied to them because I already had those files. If URL-based transformations were disabled, I wouldn't be able to see the thumbnails. So what we have done, we have created an option for you to quickly browse and see which file is what. And this is the ID of the file, which you can request in order to show the file through the SDK if you don't want to use the name. Now on the mid side of the media files, you have option to copy URL and then just to go it and just go to it and visit it. You have option to open link in a new tab, which can do basically the faster opening of the file. And on the right side you have few options. One is to view the content, you can edit or actually rename, you can delete the file, and in drop down you have options to edit the file, download it, get the access to the embed codes, you can select different player that you want to use, and multiple other options are going to come in here very soon. Now if you want to preview your file, if you click the preview, on the top side you're going to see the content that you have. You have information about the ID, the public ID, the privacy is the public, you have preview URL that you can visit, you have download URL. So if I visit this page, the download is automatically going to start. You can send this link to someone. You have the title of your file, description, the tags, which type of the format is, how big the file is, the dimensions, how many versions you have. Versions are connected to the file versions. How many visits or hits the file received, if it's watermarked, and other information about being enabled, transformation, downloads and ads. And you have option to see when the file was uploaded and changed. On the bottom side you have a tab for file versions, which is going to show us probably the thumbnail. So if I open link in a new tab, you're going to see this image. So we have generated the thumbnail that you're seeing in the media files when we go over with the mouse. Now what you can do definitely is create additional versions of the file. So you have option to pre-select what you want to do. So I'm not going to touch the format, I'm just going to use simple call. I want to generate 500 with 500 image, and I want to crop fill. So the system, okay, I have to call it JPEG. So the system is going to generate a JPEG image of this file, which is going to be 500 with 500 resolution, and as you can see, it is going to generate the thumbnail, so you can do all of that just in here. If you go to transformation, you have options for possible transformation, and you can see more information about what you can do with URL-based transformations. So that's good. And of course, you can delete the current transformation that you have created, and if for some reason there is an issue and the file is reporting that is error red, it would be red, you can click reconvert and initiate a new conversion of that file. This can come in handy if you're uploading the videos. Now let's go back to the media files, and let's go into the edit mode. So this is the place where you can change the public ID of your file. So I want to change it tutorial. You can change the title, grains, image of coffee. I hope it's something like this. Coffee. Take 3. I won't be doing any watermarking, and I have access about information for this file. And if I update, now you're going to see that the grain tutorials is going to be like this. And if I try to access this file, it won't work. The file grains JPEG does not exist because we have effectively changed the name to this, grains tutorial. Now we're going to have access to that file. Now there is one more thing that you can do. You can visit the file by the ID. And it's going to load the same file, so you don't have to think about the file ID name. You can just call it by the ID and the extension that you want to use. Now if you want to delete the file, you have option to click delete, and if you want to rename, you can just change the name of the file. If you have a need to move the file to another folder, you can click move to folder. So if you need to organize them, root means the main folder, and you can select where you want to move that file. So let's move it to the folder 4, and now you can see Pet Love is here. You can also delete that file, and one important thing to note, if you do delete the folder, all the files inside of that folder will be deleted. So please be careful in doing that. There is no undo option possible, so be careful if you want to try to delete the complete folder. So this will conclude this tutorial. I'll continue explaining specific things in separate shorter videos. So thank you for being part of the Publitio, and let us know if you need any more help so we can create specific tutorials to your needs. Have a nice day.